It's Friday, July the 30th. Lake level is a little over 916. That's come down about 6 inches or so since the report last week. And it doesn't look like they're generating too much water. A lot of the water flow's been in the middle of the night, but last few days there hadn't been, any current or any water flow to speak of at all. But fishing's been really good, and I think it's going to start changing now that the generation and the water flow has really slowed down. I think a lot of them fish are going to start to go deeper. I know there's already been some deep, but we've been catching them pretty shallow for this lake for this time of year. For as hot as the water is, it's up in the high 80s. We've still had a decent jig bite throughout the lake, in that 18 to 25 foot range. Still catching, quite a few smallmouths. Catching some out deep, some out shallow. It's just a little bit of everything going on. Topwater bite can be kind of sporadic. I'm still catching some in the morning. And you want to keep a topwater bait handy because they'll come up surfacing throughout the day. A lot of times on these wave break walls out in front of these marinas, it's a good place to, in the middle of the day, to pick up a topwater and run down along the side, and even a drop shot out there. But a lot of my jig fish are coming on main lake, secondary points. A lot of them are out of or around the conservation brush piles. It depends on what type of structure I'm fishing, what kind of jig I'm throwing. I'm pretty much throwing a half ounce to a 3/4, whether it be a football jig, out 5 Fish Lures Ultimate Cover Jig. The cover jig comes through the brush and the rock a lot better. It's got a little, tapered head to it. Football jig out in the open water works really well, not as well in the brush. And then there's one that Ledge Rock Lures makes. I've got it over here somewhere, but it's similar to a football style head, but it comes through the brush real well. A lot of the colors I'm throwing: green pumpkin orange, PVJ, green pumpkin purple, but pretty much just dragging it. And when I get into bigger rock and the brush, I'll pop it a little bit. That bite seems to be better earlier, but it will work throughout the day. But I think it's getting a little slower as a lot of the fish start to move out there deeper. And I have been drop shotting a little more the last week or so than I have been before. And it's 3 different colored worms I'm throwing. Throwing a Morning Dawn, KVD Dream Shot, a Strike King, Chompers, brown, purple, laminated, and a Chompers Plum. But I think, green pumpkin, watermelon, as long as it's a small worm, will work as well too. I've just got a lot of confidence in those 3, so that's usually what I stick with. But my drop shot fish have been coming around some of the deeper docks, and the ones that I've been catching on the bottom when I'm not fishing suspended fish around the docks have been, relatively shallow still. They're 25 to 35 feet, and they've been pretty close to the bottom. Now, some of the areas I've been getting them out over some deeper trees, just like over the deeper docks, and those fish have been suspended out there, but they're not really deep, super deep yet. They're 25, 30 feet. I think we're going to see that thermocline start to go down a little deeper as we're, like I said, we don't have hardly any generation. Surface temperatures are getting higher, so I think a lot of the fish are going to start going deeper. Just all depends what the shad do. There's a lot of shad up there suspended in that 20, 25 foot range. I've really had some awesome days fishing shallow with squarebills. And, not so much like up to James. I've actually been kind of struggling up into James. My best bite's been probably mid-James, Ants Creek, Campbell Point, Kimberling City area as far as the shallow bite on the squarebill. And I'm fishing in the very backs of the creeks. I'm running squarebills or topwater by the cover of the brush. If that doesn't work, I'll pick up a small jig like a 5/16 or 7/16 ounce, pitch it into whatever cover I see. Or I've been throwing an 8-inch Texas rig worm too, like a tequila sunrise, a plum, a blue flake, any kind of logs, laydowns or snags that are in the backs of them creeks. And the key to the bite back there, without a doubt, is if the bait's up that day, there'll be some fish up around the cover. And when you find that fish up around the cover, you'll get a bite just about off every piece of wood. You know, they may be 10 or 12 inch fish, or they may be 2.5, 3 pound fish. You just got to hit everything that's in there. The spoon bite's been pretty decent for me as well around some of these deeper docks where I'm drop shotting out front. I'll get a spoon and go inside the stalls, and the fish have been suspended 20 to 35 feet down in them dock stalls. And if they're down there pretty deep, I like to use like a 3/4 ounce or 7/8 slab spoon. It gets down there a little bit quicker. If I find the fish are hitting higher up in the water column, like in that 5 to 15 foot, this is a Dixie Jet flutter spoon, 5/8 ounce. It's got a lot slower fall, and it's got completely different action than the slab spoon, but I think it works a little better on them fish when they're higher up in the water column. And if you want to try to key on some bigger fish, like a James Watson Worldwide spoon, or this is a bigger Dixie Jet spoon, I'm throwing it in the docks and around them as well. Don't get as many bites on the bigger spoon, but you do have the opportunity to catch some bigger fish on it. And, you know, like I say, throughout the lake, I think the bite has really been good. The bottom bite has picked up for me, like I was talking about on the jig. That seems to be more and more consistent. But, you know, like I keep saying, I think them fish are going to start moving out there a little bit deeper. Got a little event coming up at Extreme Outdoors. I mentioned it last week, and I'll probably mention it just about each week. It's going to be a fishing tackle swap meet, September the 11th and 12th at Extreme Outdoors behind Alric Marine. If you're selling product, it's going to be $50 for 2 days for a table. If you're buying, it's free. There's going to be free concessions both days, and I really think it's going to be a neat deal. It's their first annual. They're going to try to do it every year. But I got to looking through a bunch of stuff that I've had. You know, I've got some old fish finders I'm going to bring, some props. So I think you're going to see everything from fishing tackle to everything that goes on a boat or anything to do with fishing. I think it's going to be a really neat deal, whether you're buying or selling. So if you get a chance, check it out on Facebook on Extreme Outdoors. All the information will be on there. Until next week, good luck, good fishing.